And so I've actually tested out quite a lot of USB microphones from Maono in the past, so I already had a pretty good sense of what type of sound Maono would usually aim for. However, this microphone subverts my expectations in a lot of ways. Here we actually have an XLR microphone that also functions as a USB microphone, has onboard controls, and already comes with everything that you would want for it right out of the box. And I'm talking about a stand, pop filter, shock mount, just a bunch of different accessories. So with that said, this right here is going to be the Maono AU-300HD microphone. This microphone is honestly too good for the money, so let's go ahead and dive right in. Before we continue, don't forget that I have a Twitch channel that you can go ahead and follow me on for live microphone reviews and much more than that. But you're also going to find my Instagram and a link to the Tech Summit Discord in the description. So come join the community because it is a pretty cool one. We've also opened up a Patreon as of late where if you join, you'll be automatically entered to win one tech gadget every month in our exclusive giveaways. Details to that are going to be down below. Don't forget to check out the description for everything. Now let's get right into the video. So before we continue, I just wanted to let you all know that this product was sent to me for review. However, I will be giving you all a proper review as always. And I'm also going to be recording this entire review with this microphone so that you can get a pretty good sense of what this microphone would sound like for content creation. And now I'm also going to be streaming with it tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time so that you can ask all of your questions live. So links to my Twitch are going to be down in the description in case of anything. Now let's go ahead and move on with the first part of this review. So let's begin with an unboxing, and when you open up the box, you're going to find absolutely everything laid out for you. You're just going to find the microphone itself in its full glory, then the XLR cable for when you want to use this as an XLR microphone, the metal rod for holding the pop filter, the USB Type-C cable for USB mode, the pop filter, and the shock mount as well, but you will also get the base for the stand and the riser for it, which are going to be very important for the setup. I'm actually using them right now for it, and yeah, I mean, I have to say that it's quite useful. Now, the exterior design of this microphone does consist of metal. This microphone does look like a karaoke microphone to an extent, or kind of like one of those microphones that you would see people use for public speaking or that kind of thing, but I do like this all black color scheme to it, and it makes it look better than most of those other microphones. It is built really nicely, and it's got enough heft to it, I would say. I really can't complain about the build here. You're also going to be finding a power switch over here in order to turn this microphone on and off whenever you want to. Now, this microphone comes with the volume controls right on the body itself, and it even comes with an on and off switch, of course, but you can also come across the headphone jack that's going to be all the way at the bottom. You're going to see a USB-C port for using this in its USB setting, and an XLR port for using this in its XLR setting. And it is also important to note, yet again, that this microphone comes with everything that you're going to need in order to set this thing up. You've got the stand that comes with a heavyweight plate, and it's actually going to be quite strong. The stand can extend itself if you need it to, and the shock mount is passable, I would say. I've never really been a fan of this style of shock mount because these never really feel right when using them. It's just kind of like they block out some of the controls unless I have it set up exactly perfectly, but it usually ends up like sliding back and forth whenever I adjust or do anything to it or even just like touch it. It ends up getting pushed a little bit, so like I just really don't like this kind of shock mount for it because I eventually end up having to block those, of course. And I would have much preferred a shock mount, or I guess like just like a clipping mount to it that is a lot more similar to the Samsung Q2U, for instance. So I would certainly prefer that a lot more because it just allows for a lot more freedom, but this is still a pretty good setup nonetheless. It's really just the shock mounts that I'm not a massive fan of. And now this is a cardio dynamic microphone that is addressed from the very top, just like this. So we're going to be running 2 tests, well technically 3, but 2 tests, and then one is going to be on the USB setting while addressing its monitoring performance as well, and another in its XLR setting with an EQ test right after. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So this is going to be the USB test with the Maono AU-300HD microphone. Now this microphone is pretty good. I honestly have to say that I am a pretty big fan of how this microphone sounds in its USB setting still, but I think that it's going to sound even better in its XLR setting, and the fact that it is a dynamic microphone. Like, you can just tell that it does do its best to reject sound from the sides and from behind it and things like that. I just think that they did a really good job with this microphone, even as a USB microphone. And again, having these like onboard controls that do work when you're in USB mode is just really nice. And you do also get like this blue LED light on it to show you that this microphone is indeed powered on. However, this is what it's going to sound like. And in terms of the audio monitoring, I have to say that the monitoring isn't entirely accurate. When using like the headphone jack around the back, that is, isn't entirely accurate to what you're going to get back onto the recording software. It's almost there, but there is still like a little bit of differences between the audio here, or like the audio quality, I suppose. I guess that this just kind of gives you the impression that you're not exactly monitoring the audio as much as you're just hearing yourself speaking really well into it, which is just honestly pretty good. Like, this is a pretty good method of handling audio monitoring like this. Like, I had to say that in the monitoring aspect, it's also going to perform pretty well here. So as a USB microphone, this is already such a great value. But let's go ahead and move on to the XLR settings. And now let's get into testing the XLR setting here. I have to say that both in the USB and in the XLR setting, these are going to sound pretty identical. This microphone doesn't really sound like it's got any kind of preference towards any particular sound signature, though the mids are maybe a little bit more emphasized by just a little bit, I would say. In case of anything, that's probably what I can hear most prominently. And again, the sound quality here, when it comes to sound rejection and everything, are all going to be great in both modes, whether you're using this as a USB microphone or an XLR microphone. This pop filter is also great when it comes to plosives. It just does a fantastic job, of course, considering its size. And honestly, I think that by far this microphone does sound pretty clean for what it is, at the very least in like recorded scenarios versus live scenarios. In live scenarios, I've noticed that for some reason it just kind of sounds a little bit more podcast-esque. Could just be my EQ settings, but I think that this microphone does still sound very good. And this is the kind of sound that you can expect while having this connected to my Yamaha MG10XU audio interface for testing these microphones. And now this is going to be the EQ test. I actually made a very, very tiny change in the EQ since I really didn't feel the need so much here to make many changes, as I actually thought that the sound was already pretty darn good. And I literally only increased the lows by just a little tiny bit. I did not add any compression or any de-essing. This doesn't support any de-essing. However, if I were to do anything else to this microphone, it would be to include a de-esser. So if you're using something like a Go XLR, for instance, that does have a de-esser built in, I would definitely turn that on right away for something like this, because sibilances can be somewhat of an issue. Like, you can definitely hear them pretty strongly. Lowering the highs can also help with that, but you really don't want to mess with the overall sound quality if you already like how it sounds, you know? However, I'm going to be doing the rest of this review with the setting on, so it really is just going to be a lows boost in that regard. And then let's go ahead and talk about some of the complaints, and there are actually going to be very few here. The XLR port is a little bit difficult to work with, since this particular model doesn't seem to have the proper indentation for the cable to properly go through it. I would also have liked to see maybe a better mounting solution that doesn't involve this shock mount. I've never really been a fan of this design, again, like I mentioned earlier, since it makes reaching for certain controls just a little bit tedious at times, among other reasons, of course, as well. And another thing is that this microphone doesn't do all that well when it comes to sibilances. Like, your S's are going to sound very strongly emphasized, I want to say. So having a de-esser with this would be very nice. There obviously isn't one built in, so you would have to do that in post, or with some kind of hardline EQ like the MG10XU, for instance. So would you believe me if I said that that's really everything that I have against this microphone? I honestly think that for $60, this is a fantastic microphone to look at. It comes with a bunch of accessories to make it work best for you, but most importantly, this microphone sounds great for the money, and this is a very strong competitor to the Samsung Q2U. For $10 less, I can very, and I mean very easily recommend this microphone. This is going to be a total steal for the money, and probably one of my favorite microphones from Maono, if not my favorite so far, even though there is still one more XLR microphone from Maono that we will be testing out in the coming days, and this is going to be an XLR condenser microphone, so do look forward to that. But with that said, awesome job here. to you guys. And now don't forget that I will be streaming with this microphone tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time, so you can get a pretty good idea of what this microphone sounds like for content creation, or I should say for streaming, and so that you can ask all of your questions live. Of course, those are going to be one of the more popular live reviews that I tend to do on this channel, so of course do make sure to stop by, and also do make sure to follow me on Twitch for that and the rest of my social media. But if you are already sold on this microphone and really want it, then you can go ahead and check it out through the links in the description. I do have links to Amazon. These are going to be all affiliated, and there's going to be a link to ABUNDA in case you would like to finance this microphone instead. Kind of just like take that a little bit more slowly. You don't need a credit card of your own, which is really cool. So links to that down below. I'm going to make sure that that is readily available for you. And if you're just looking for sales or maybe like a shopping companion for helping you find like other things to compare this microphone to, and if you're looking maybe for some kind of discounts across the web, Luster is going to be exactly the tool that you're looking for. So do make sure to take a look at Luster down in the description. Of course, if you use any of these links, I would be getting a small commission that does support the channel quite a bit, so I would appreciate that quite a bit. And also, I would like to give a very special thanks to our two Tier 3 patrons. So this is going to be for the $10 tier. Thank you so much for all of your support. This is going to be to Omar and Saad Al-Wazal. Thank you so much for all of your support and helping us out here. And it is thanks to people like you that we're able to continue making high quality reviews like these, as your support always goes a long way. Now, with that said, I would like to thank the rest of our patrons coming right up. And this is super important. I would just like to give a very special thanks to all of our patrons, which are going to be listed right here on the screen. Again, a massive thanks to you all for supporting us to help us create the kind of content that we bring to you on a day-to-day basis. And thank you so much for supporting the Tech Summit podcast as well. And just remember that if you would like to be a part of this community too, and then do make sure to check out the links to our Patreon, where you don't only get bonus episodes of our podcast, but you also get automatically entered into one of our monthly giveaways of a tech product that we have reviewed that is of at least $50 in value or higher. So links to that down below. And now that's pretty much it. So with that said, this has been Francisco from Tech Summit. Thank you for watching, and I will be seeing you all later. Enjoy.